And welcome Black to Touch TV, the fabric of the Black community. I'm your host, Brother Charles Clemons Muhammad, and you are the best and the brightest. Remember, Touch TV comes to you every Thursday evening at 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning at 12:30 a.m. And that's Friday into Saturday. At Eastern Time, 9:30 p.m. on Thursdays and 12:30 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And you can check out Touch TV on Comcast Channel 23, RCN Channel 83, Verizon 1960, and online anywhere in the world at www.bnntv.org. And when you go to that page, make sure you select Watch Channel 23 now, and bam, it's on. Also, if you missed any of our episodes on that same website, top right-hand corner, you'll see VOD. Click VOD. The shows are in alphabetical order. You see Touch TV, click on Touch TV, and all of our shows from the past 6 years are there for you to take and watch and share. Why not? We can make it happen. So we have a fantastic show lined up for you. Again, my name is Charles Clemons Muhammad, and if you'd like to be a guest here on Touch TV, feel free to email me at charles4boston, F-O-R, @gmail.com, charles4boston@gmail.com, or text me at 617-334-4639. That's 617-334-4639. As I stated, we have a fantastic, awesome, and amazing show for you today. This show is dedicated to my brother, Kobe Bryant. That's right, Kobe Bryant. For those that may not know, Kobe Bryant has done some awesome, amazing things, not just being a ball player with the Los Angeles Lakers, but also he was starting a version of the NBA. That's right, the NBA in China. Also, today's show is dedicated to Clarence Jeep Jones, one of our trailblazers, one of our helpers, and he also was the first Black deputy mayor here in the city of Boston. So today's show is dedicated to Kobe Bryant, his family, and those that were lost in that horrific accident, and Clarence Jeep Jones. And a lot of people don't know that Clarence Jeep Jones went to school with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, English High School. Also, a lot of folks may not know that Clarence Jeep Jones' classmate or roommate at Salem College in, I believe it's South Carolina, North Carolina, is a teaching school. His roommate was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we definitely give thanks to these giants in our community. Let's get started with the show. First time ever happening in our fair city, a listening session. And we're going to get into that. But right now, I'd like to introduce my guests, and ladies first. We're going to start off with the Honorable Angel Kelley. And pleased to meet you. Thank you very much for joining Touch TV. The Honorable Angel Kelley is Associate Justice of the Superior Court. And next to the Honorable Angel Kelley is a long life good friend of mine, John Laing, John G.C. Laing Jr. And he's the Chief Experience and Diversity Officer. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On your appointment there and doing that. So today we have a show that's going to talk about a listening session in our community at our historical Black college, RCC. All right. So what do we start off with? What is a listening session?
Well, a listening session is intended to be a forum in which the judiciary comes out into the community and listens. But let me just say thank you for having us on this show.
Yes.
It's important that we're here for the fabric of the Black community because this listening session is targeted to the Black community. And the reason why we're having this listening session is because last year, 2019, was the 400th year anniversary of when the first African men and women were enslaved. They were kidnapped, tortured, and trafficked to the U.S. for the purpose of slavery in the United States. That goes back to 1619. So it's been a number of centuries, 4 centuries in particular, that Black people have suffered and have been affected by racial injustice and inequality. And the courts are now acknowledging that history, that long history. And we understand that it is, the justice system has not always been fair to Black people. So the purpose of this listening session is to actually hear from the community that's been impacted as one of the legacies of slavery.
And when you say hear from the community is invited. Does it matter the language that they speak? Because the fabric of the Black community is layered.
So no, it doesn't matter what languages they speak. We are targeting the Black communities. We know that there are people who identify as Black that speak other languages other than English. But our intention is really to engage with the deep history and experiences of Black people in particular that have negative impacts through the history, through the 400-year history, and then particularly in our judicial system.
So with the community participating in this listening session, which is the first of its kind, what do
For
you...
this purpose.
For
this
this
purpose and in this
Yes.
community.
Okay, all right. So what are we looking to achieve?
So the hope is to actually hear what those experiences are, to hear firsthand how people have experienced the judicial system and how those experiences may have had negative impacts individually and on a community. And by hearing firsthand how they've experienced it, it might give us an opportunity to think about doing things a little bit differently. We do have a survey that the court has done that is sponsored by the National Center for State Courts that tells us that Black and African American people who come to our courts, that interact with our courts, have a more negative experience than their white and even Hispanic counterparts. And so it's important for us to engage them directly on why that is, what those experiences are,
Okay.
and whether we can make them better.
So let's paint a
I just wanted
Judge.
to add that our justice system, judges understand their role in the justice system, but the whole purpose is, our flyers indicates, how can justice be achieved for all? And so that's really the question that we have for the community. So whether you're a person who's been a victim of a crime or accused of a crime, or whether you have a civil matter that you wish to bring to the court seeking a restraining order or something else, how can justice be achieved from your perspective?
Okay.
We have a concept of that, but there may not be things that we're thinking about that the community can actually enlighten us about, so that we
Gotcha.
can make sure that everyone feels that justice is achieved in the court system.
How, let's paint a picture of this event.
Yes.
How is it going to take place? How's it going to be run?
John and I will be there. This event is sponsored by the chief of our SJC, Ralph Gantz, the chief of our appeals court, Mark Green, and the chief of the trial court, Paula Carey. We expect that they will be there along with a number of other judges that will be there in the audience to listen to the community.
Okay.
Yes.
On the monitor, we actually have the flyer up. We want to hear from you. How can justice be achieved for all? And of course, it's going to take place Thursday, February 27th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we do have an email address. Judge, you want to give out that email address?
So Roxbury Community College is hosting it, and to RSVP for the event, it is jessica.roman-alvarez@jud.state.ma.us. And it's important to have the to RSVP because this was originally scheduled last year on the actual anniversary, the 400th year anniversary. But because of a snowstorm on that date, RCC closed and we had to reschedule. So we thought the best opportunity to reschedule was Black History Month.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. We plan, however, God is the best of planners.
Yes.
Now, and like I said earlier when we were offline, the Historical Black College of Boston, RCC, and I don't believe in coincidences. However, there's a reason for it to be there.
Yeah,
correct?
well, we were very intentional to make sure that it was going to be an event that was within the community, that was identified as central and a pillar of community gathering, education, and opportunity. And we wanted to make sure that there was a space that was big enough to hold however many people that were going to show up. And
this is going to take place in the...
At 1234 Columbus Avenue in the Academic Building.
Oh, the Academic
Yes.
Building,
Three.
not to
Yes.
be confused with the Media Arts Building. The
That's right.
Academics Building
Yes.
upstairs with the cafeteria.
Exactly. It
Okay.
says first floor, room 4, next to the cafeteria.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
so I know that very well.
Yes.
Actually, my daughter attends RCC. You want to say something else, John?
no.
No? Okay, so in the beginning, you mentioned that there were other listening sessions. Where were these other listening sessions, and were they focused on the Black community?
No, not particularly. This is the only one where we've targeted an audience that's the African American and Black community.
Wow.
We had listening sessions within the courts for court staff. We've had them for the community within the courts. We've had them outside the community in public library space, for example, in Brockton, where I sit. But we've also have gone to the houses of correction. So we've been
Okay.
to the Plymouth House of Correction, Middlesex House of Correction, Suffolk County House of Correction, and we are going on to Essex, Norfolk,
Worcester.
and hopefully get out to Western Mass as well.
Good
so
for
that
you.
we can hear from people who we know have had contacts with the justice system.
Okay, what is the National Judicial Outreach Month?
Well, the American Bar Association started what was called the National Judicial Outreach Week, and they were encouraging judges to get out of the courtroom, take off their robes, and engage with the community.
Sounds good to me.
And so Massachusetts has been a leader each year in the number of visits that we've made. Last year, we made 203 visits, and 181 judges were involved in making those visits. So what it is for the month of March, if we receive a request for a judge to visit, it could be a middle school, a high school, it could be a public library, senior center, a cultural organization, ethnic organizations, it could be a corporation, it could be any group of people who are interested in having a judge come and visit. We have a variety of topics that we can talk about, but it started off with the topic of preserving the rule of law, because that's what we perceive to be the means of achieving justice when the law is applied equally to all.
What are some of the other topics?
So we, after that, we created bail educational videos because there's been a lot of discussion and questions and misunderstanding about the purpose of bail. And bail is when a person is held in custody until a certain amount of money is posted. So we created these educational videos so that we can educate the public about the purpose of bail and hopefully create a better understanding of that. We've gone on and created some other topics where our probate and family court judges are creating topics, videos and presentations for senior centers because they were getting a lot of questions from them about elder law and things to do. So we're trying to tailor. Judges of color with the judiciary are also working on a presentation on topics that we believe that have not been taught in the schools but are important to understand our history.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned put in a request to get a judge. Like, how does explain that whole process?
So there's a separate email address, which is judicials.speakers@jud.state.ma.us.
Now, Judge, Your Honor, you're going to have to say that a couple of times.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to post the flyer of that
Oh,
as well.
that's right. We do have the flyer for
Yes.
for March.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So we're going to post that up, and they're listening to you right now.
Yes.
So they're going to put it up right now. Put the
Yes.
flyer up. Good. Let's do the email one more time.
judicial.speakers@jud.state.ma.us.
Awesome, awesome. And I know time flies when we're having fun. Is there anything that we missed?
The only thing I'd like to say is it's really important for the community to come out. This is an opportunity, and although it's the first opportunity and we expect there to be more, it's really important that the community comes out to be a part of this, to inform our understanding of what those experiences are, and for us to be able to determine whether there's actually something that we can do to better inform them, make our system more transparent, and maybe prevent some of the concerns that they may be experiencing.
John, give out your contact information, please.
So John Laing, you can reach me at john.laing, L-A-I-N-G, at jud.state.ma.us. And you can reach me for any issue relative to your experience in the court, as well as to find out more information about this session.
There's a flyer there.
There it is. National Judicial Outreach Month is going down March 2020, and we want to make sure that you stay informed. And for more information, judicial.speakers@jud.state.ma.us. Yes. I can read. Yes. Well, thank you very much for being a part of Touch TV, the fabric of the Black community. Hopefully, this can be an ongoing relationship, because you have a plethora of information that our community definitely needs. And we're going to be there Thursday, February the 27th, one of the events for Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
I'm so thankful to Almighty God Allah for the day that I met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. As a young man, I always desired to see black people free. I cried myself to sleep many nights, especially after coming from the church and my Sunday school class, where I would ask my Sunday school teacher, if God gave Moses to the children of Israel to deliver them from the hard bondage of Pharaoh, and if God always stood on the side of the enslaved and the oppressed, why hasn't God sent someone to us? My pastors and my Sunday school teachers had no answer for me. I was upset because I was a Christian and I loved Jesus Christ. But when I was a young man, white Christians were doing horrible things to black Christians, and no intercession was taken on our behalf. So I started to look for somebody who would address the concerns of our people. When I was 11 years of age, I was sent by my mother to New York to spend part of the summer with my uncle. And my uncle had on his wall a picture of a black man. In my house in Boston, we had pictures on our mantelpiece, one of whom was Queen Elizabeth and King George, and the other was a white representation of Jesus. But in my uncle's home, a black man was on the wall. That was really strange to me, because all the homes that I had visited as a young man, all the black homes had a picture of Jesus, a white person. I remember once a Filipino man came to our door. He was selling Bibles. And as he was opening the Bibles, showing my mother all of these white prophets and angels, he got to the Last Supper, and my mother asked him, "You mean to tell me there's no black people at all in this book?" She ran him out of the house. And that was, for me, a sign that my mother, after I talked to my uncle, who told me my dad was a follower of Marcus Garvey, and my mother was on the fringe of the Garvey movement, she was very black conscious. And I thank God for that, because she instilled in me love for our people. I always felt the pain of those that I would read about in the Crisis magazine or in the Afro-American.
And welcome back to Touch TV, the fabric of the black community. Touch TV comes to you every Thursday evening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 12:30 a.m. Saturday morning, which is really Friday into Saturday, 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can check us out on Comcast Channel 23, RCN Channel 83, Verizon 1960, anywhere in the world, www.bnntv.org. And when you go to that website, make sure you select Watch Channel 23 now. It will happen for sure. And if you missed any of our shows for the past 6 years, we are on VOD, Video on Demand, top right-hand corner of bnntv.org. Click VOD. All different shows will come up. Look for Touch TV. Click Touch TV. And, of course, you will see all of our past shows. Feel free to copy the URL and save it. The latest edition of the Final Call newspaper is in our town. And if you'd like the copy of the Final Call newspaper, go to NOI.org. That's NOI.org. Or text me at 617-334-4639. Also, last week's copy of the Final Call newspaper, the front cover, that of Kobe Bryant and his beautiful daughter, Gigi. Well, that's her nickname, Gigi. And actually, she is the one who brought him back into the basketball scene. Kobe was ready to do other things, but her natural love for basketball, not because her father wanted her to play basketball, her natural love for basketball brought him back into the basketball scene. And a lot of people don't know that when Eric Gardner was strangled and killed by the New York Police Department, Kobe Bryant is the one that had the LA Lakers wear the t-shirt, "I Can't Breathe." Also, when the NBA went on strike, at the Staples Center, Kobe Bryant paid for all of the employees' wages. Did you know that? Kobe Bryant, more than just a basketball player. As we continue with our show, Touch TV, the fabric of the black community. Not a stranger here, but I call him the Professor. Mwalim is here to talk about his latest book, Land of the Black Squirrels. Have you seen a black squirrel in your lifetime? I have when I was in Detroit, and I thought I was seeing something, but he has the book out. So peace and blessings, my brother.
Peace and blessings,
All
brother.
right.
How are you?
I'm doing awesome, amazing, and blacknificent after reading some of Land of the Black Squirrels. So let's start off with, is this your first book?
It's my first novel because, as you know, I'm actually a playwright. By most of my work is playwright, spoken word artist, and so forth. I did publish a collection of short stories back in 2007 called A Mixed Medicine Bag. That was through a publisher called Talking Drum, but this is my first novel. And this actually grew out of spoken word. A very, very, very early version of the stories, or one of the stories in the novel, actually was originally told at, there used to be a bookstore in Cambridge called the Bookseller.
Okay.
And on Tuesday nights, there was a gentleman, he's joined the ancestors since Brother Blue, one of the great storytellers of the area. Celebrated.
Yes.
Well, he hosted this storytelling session on Tuesday nights at the Bookseller. And I went to the Bookseller and started to tell one of the stories that shows up in that novel.
Interesting.
And the original idea for it went through different incarnations. Two of the stories were actually my screenplays when I was studying film and screenwriting at Boston University. A couple of them, I tried working with them as screenplays, and that didn't quite tell the story the right way. I put them together as a long-form storytelling piece called The Bronx Bohème. And the first time I performed that was actually at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in New York back in 2003, actually a couple of months before my son was born. And then decided, well, go with the storytelling piece. And there was a poet by the name of Luis Reyes Rivera who wrote novels, but wrote novels in poetic form. And I figured, why not write a novel that's a storytelling piece, as in it's meant to be a spoken word piece, but write it out as a novel so you can do it in full form. And as I began to write, realized that there are more stories than just one novel, so that's how it became the Bronx Bohème series. And I'm right now actually writing book 2, and this is book 1.
All right. Now, as I stated, I read some of Land of the Black Squirrels, and in the book, and I don't want to give away too much because I want people to get the book and read for themselves. But when I was reading, I was thinking at first the black squirrels represented either you, but then it's squirrels plural, your family, or the black community.
Little of all of it. We're all black squirrels.
Right.
You know, our experience in the community, because the black squirrels began to appear in the Bronx in the 1960s, and people had not seen black squirrels anyplace else. I would talk about black squirrels when I came to Massachusetts, and people say, what are you talking about? And think that I was making some kind of militant joke, and I'm saying, no. Do we actually have black squirrels?
Yeah.
Very, very dark fur, but, you know, black squirrels in New York City. And began to also look at the whole thing of the squirrels would always seem to come around. You would have them all around you as you're talking. You'd see them sitting on walls, and they didn't seem like the other squirrels that were afraid until, of course, you got too close. But the squirrels would sit right there, and I began to think about the interaction of sometimes ancestors, spirit animals, and that type of thing, and began to wonder, were these black squirrels coming back to protect us?
Interesting. Because after I saw a black squirrel in Detroit about 4 years ago, I just recently, last year, saw my first black squirrel in Boston.
Okay.
So, I mean, they exist, but were there black squirrels before the Mayflower?
Not one of those things that comes up in the conversation.
You know, were they? And then somehow they left.
It's true.
You know, because the Mayflower got here and the Pilgrims, the way they were taking things away and whatnot. But so you're from the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
actually, Bronx and Mashpee.
Okay. And you live in Mashpee.
Right.
Right. And you're a member of
Mashpee
the
Wampanoag tribe.
Absolutely. Now, the Wampanoag tribe actually dominated this area, correct?
Well, the Wampanoag is the nation.
Is the nation.
Mashpee is the tribe. Just like you have Aquinnah on Martha's Vineyard, they're the tribe.
Oh, wow.
But we're all part of the Wampanoag nation.
Okay.
So that's one thing that, well, of course, the European construct, they try to smash it all down. Oh,
Absolutely.
They try
Water
to
it
minimize.
down.
But the reality is the Wampanoag is the nation. And we occupied from what is now basically Revere to what is now Narragansett Bay, Narragansett Sound. This was our territory on the East Coast. Wampanoag means, Wampanoag is the actual word.
Right.
And it means people of the first light. We were aware that we were the first ones to see the sunrise because we were on the coast.
That's right.
And of course, Abenaki means the same thing. They're the folks who are further north, and we're actually all related.
Right.
They're some of our people who wandered further north thousands of years ago.
And I believe Boston gets the sunlight before New York, like so many minutes or so many
By
seconds.
a few minutes, yeah.
Yeah,
Right
interesting.
here in the Bay State.
Okay.
But the story Because part of it, you'll find when you get further on, some of it takes place in Boston. But the story is actually about artists, and it's about the arts community, and it's sort of that other side of just the different experiences of being an artist in New York City during the 70s and 80s and 90s, growing up in that period, and just some of the adventures that musicians and artists have. That was what I wanted to sort of bring together. It was also, to an extent, an allegory. I was trying to somehow create an allegory that explained how the black arts movement and jazz are among the foundations of what became hip hop.
Okay,
Because-
along with bebop.
Along with bebop. Well, bebop,
Right.
of course, bebop being part of jazz, but the fact that you have that connection, because one of the things, I teach black studies and aesthetics, and one of the things that they always try to do is disconnect the different eras of black arts. It's sort of like you have a Harlem Renaissance and then disappears. And then you all of a sudden have this little sort of like postmodernist movement where you get Ralph Ellison and Richard Wright, and then it disappears. And then all of a sudden you have a Skia Touré and a Miri Baraka and the black arts movement, and then it disappears. And they never talk about how all of these are connected and all of these are a continuum. So in the story, I basically try to turn the hip hop root of the hip hop, should say, the jazz root of hip hop jazz and the bebop root of hip hop jazz, I try to communicate through people. So the story opens in 1969, which is just around the middle of the black arts movement. It's during a period in New York City when you have a mayor who is giving empty community spaces to community buildings and so forth to community people in the black community to open different art centers. That's how the 5% Nation, the Nation of Gods and Earths, got the Mecca School, for example, on 126 in Frederick Douglass, was because of Mayor Lindsay. And so what I tell through, and that's how Amiri Baraka got the Black Arts Repertory Theater, was through this same program. So what I try to tell through this story is that same kind of thing. You have this jazz musician who works for the Parks Department, who finds an abandoned storefront, boarded up storefront, and is able to obtain it and turns it into an arts academy in the Bronx, in the section of the Bronx called the Valley, which is near where I grew up, because I grew up in a section called Co-op City, right outside the Valley. And the Valley was part of the area that we grew up in and played. This was the first place I saw the Cold Crush Brothers perform in Haffen Park. Used to see all kinds of, the early stages of hip hop. You saw happen there. This is where you had all kinds of arts programs, music programs. You had a very, very, very vibrant music scene in terms of instrumentalists and so forth in this part of the Bronx. And I try to capture that energy in this novel.
All right. The spirits that live, that dwell in the jazz clubs.
Exactly, exactly. All right.
The land of the black squirrels. We only have like 30 seconds left. How can one get in contact with you and get more information about the land of the black squirrels?
Well, first, the email address is bronxboheme@gmail.com. bronxboheme@gmail.com. That's how you can get in touch directly. The book is available on all platforms, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, your local bookstore. And in fact, speaking of local bookstore, I'll be doing a book reading and signing on March the 7th at 1 p.m. at Frugal Bookstore.
Oh, I'll be there.
Right in Dudley Square. So, come down to
Nubian Square.
Nubian Square, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nubian Square. Nubian Square, I'm sorry. I've been colonized just like the rest of y'all. But Nubian Square, thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
We'll be at the Frugal
60
Bookstore.
Warren Street. We'll be there.
We'll be we'll be there 1 p.m. on March the 7th.
Okay.
And I'm also going to read some of the sketches from the upcoming novel.
Good. Well, we're going to bring you black.
All right.
So you can read some.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All right. It's Touch TV, the fabric of the black community. My guest, the Professor Mwalim. And he's also a member of the New England Urban Music Awards Committee. Thank you for being a part of the committee and taking us to a whole nother level.
Well, thank you for bringing that to fruition. I mean, for the artists, to have a local recognition, a regional recognition, like the Urban Music Awards, is huge.
Thank you, sir.
People don't look at that because we've been invisible to each other, not even just looking at it from the European standpoint. So thank you for making that happen.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take a little pause for the cause, and when we come back, more information to build a nation from the world's greatest station. It's Touch TV, the fabric of the black community. We'll be back.
That fascinated me. I was a little shorty at that time, so I asked my uncle to get a chair so I could stand on that chair and drink in the features of this black man who had come to unite black people. And as I was looking in his face, studying his features, I asked my uncle, where is he, that I might go and be with him? And my uncle said, he's passed away. And the tears fell from my eyes because I had come that close to what my heart was yearning for, and he was gone. My search always was for a man that would stand up for us. When I was 19 years of age, a musician, an entertainer, young boy going to school, I was in college at the time and had come home for the summer vacation, and one of my friends told me that God had chosen a messenger for us. As I walked the street, tears fell from my eyes. And I asked God, I said, God, why didn't you choose me? You know. And as fast as I made that question to God, the answer came when I decided I must go and meet this man and offer him my life. So at 19, I did not meet Elijah Muhammad. I married at 20 years of age and was in college, and then when I was 22 years of age, I was playing in a nightclub in Chicago, and as I was in a cab driving and coming down a street, I happened to look and see my old friend. My wife, Khadija, was in the cab with me. We stopped the cab, paid the cab driver, jumped out of the cab, and hailed my friend that grew up together with me. And naturally, since he's in Chicago, I'm in Chicago, and I'm the headliner at the Blue Angel nightclub, I said to my friend, man, why don't you come on and catch my show? He wasn't moved a bit. And he said, your uncle is right around the corner. And I went around the corner and saw my uncle and saw some of my friends from Boston who had become Muslims. So they asked me, would I like to come and hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? I said, of course. And my friends came and picked me up and brought me to Muhammad's Temple, number 2, at 5335 South Greenwood Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. There was a tall, beautiful man opening up for Elijah Muhammad, who had not yet come. And after a few minutes, I heard somebody from the back of the auditorium say, "Tench Hut, the messenger of Allah." And I heard fast footsteps coming down the aisle, and almost with a bound, Elijah Muhammad jumped up on the rostrum. He had me sitting where usually first-timers don't sit. First-timers always get the best seats in the house, front row, second row, third row, but he had me sitting in the balcony. Then Elijah Muhammad began to speak. And as he spoke, you know, being a student of English and always getting pretty good grades in English, he was splitting some verbs. Verb and subject agreement were not there.
And welcome back to Touch TV, the fabric of the black community. I'm your host, Brother Charles Clemons Muhammad. If you're just tuning in, check us out online at www.bnntv.org. And when you go to that website, make sure that, what is that tapping noise?
It's my foot, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I didn't realize.
all right, that's okay. All right, we're going to go right to the show. My guest is none is J. Scott Henderson. Peace and blessings, my brother.
Yes, same.
How you doing?
Doing
and
well.
along with Edwin Sumpter.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Charles, it's
All
very
right.
good to be here. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's start off with Edwin. Edwin, former close friend of mine, well, still a close friend.
That's right.
But you worked at WIOD Radio, and we
I
got
did.
some pictures that are going to come up with
Great.
you, some Queen Latifah, and some of the older artists at
Yeah.
WIOD. Also, People's Voice,
Yes.
your relationship with the People's Voice, which
Absolutely.
is...
Yeah, I was the entertainment editor for the People's Voice newspaper in the 90s, Greater Boston News in the 80s, and WIOD back in the 80s with you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's right. So welcome. And my friend here, J. Scott Henderson, is a member of the Red House Band.
He is.
All right?
Actually founder.
The founder.
Yes.
Okay. And my understanding is that the Red House Band had some issues with the Red Sox.
Actually, it was more me than,
Okay.
say, Red House. One of the many duties, I'd like to call it, that I've been taking on are little things that sometimes may be perceived as a pet peeve to me. And I know some people may question how much this does or does not affect the community. But as I'm sure most of you are aware, the Boston Red Sox for the past 19 years have been holding the summer concerts at Fenway Park. What may come as a surprise to some, although it's been made a little bit public, makes a little bit of noise, is that in those 19 years, there's never been a person of color headlining any of those shows, which are now up to the 90s. Now, it wouldn't be such a big deal as it is to me if Fenway Park was, say, where the Patriots play, up in Foxborough. But when you consider that these concerts are being held in the middle of a city that is 50% people of color, and these concerts have been going on now for 18 years, and again, they're up to roughly 90 shows, it's sort of amazing that there has not been one person of color to headline any of those shows. And so far this year, where they've had a big run of concerts coming up, again, it's the same story.
Well, you stated 51% people of color. Actually, in 2010,
Yep.
the U.S. Census stated that we are 56%
That even
of
bones
the
my case.
population.
Well, that even bones my case.
And that was we're talking 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty sure
So you see my
we
point.
multiply.
Sure, so you see my point. And
Yes, we do.
I'm not one to indict the Red Sox and say that this is a policy. However, I think it's fair to say that we can be a little sensitive to the fact that if something walks like a policy, talks like a policy, you start to wonder what exactly is going on. And again, it's 56%, not one of those concerts have been featured a black headliner. There was one exception. Jay-Z did co-headline one show with Justin Timberlake. But that's been the closest they've come to headlining an act. Now, I'm fully aware that this is not a major issue throughout the community. And may or may not impact anyone's lives, and it doesn't really impact mine. However, being a native Bostonian, I do feel somewhat ignored by that fact. But I have had conversations with the Red Sox, and they are obviously aware of this situation, and to the best of their ability, they've been telling me they've been trying to do something about it, and perhaps along the line, something will happen. But it's funny because this is one of those cases where, again, I didn't think it was such a huge issue, but I ended up getting a National Public Radio a story done on me about this issue just last year. So some other people did find it interesting, and it did go all the way to NPR Radio, which they did feature. So if anyone has a chance, go to NPR Radio, and you'll actually get a chance to put my name in Edwin Sumpter, and you'll hear this long story they did on me and just this issue. Again, I know it's not the most important issue in our community, but considering Fenway Park is walkable from Dorchester, Roxbury, or Mattapan, it does bother me. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's it. That's really it.
Now, J. Scott Henderson, I understand, is going to play some music for us.
Yeah, I met Jay years ago, 30 years ago, and as he mentioned, he's the founder of the Red House Band, and Jay and I became best friends, and I worked with Red House and been managing Red House for the last 30 years, and Jay's become a dear friend and plays one heck of a guitar. I'll let him tell you. He's been playing since he's been 12.
Oh, yeah? Let's tell us a little bit about you and how'd you get involved in music?
Well, first of all, you know, not really trying to be a wise guy, but through my ears. And so when I heard sound, right, it made me jump and shout like most people do. However, that wasn't satisfying me. So I was like, how is this? Like, what is it that's creating this sensation? So I grew up in a musical family. My grandmother and grandfather taught classical music and jazz. My grandfather more so jazz. His wife, my mother, classical, gospel, and they were members of their church for 50 years until they died. They were married for 50 years, stayed in the church. So I grew up, you know, listening to classical music. From that point, I was getting lessons from my grandmother, but she finally convinced her to buy me one of these little small guitars, little nylon thing that you buy for kids from the 5 and dime. And my parents moved me to Boston. I was devastated because I lost those piano lessons. And hearing my mom play, I was like, you know, I should be able to be at that level. So I was just left with a guitar. And I kept pursuing it and pursuing it. I tried to throw it out the window or let it stay in the corner. And one day it kept calling me, man. I kept looking at it. I couldn't put it down. So that led to other things, learning riffs, hanging out with musicians, you know, finding ways to get in backstage. You know, I always kept my guitar with me. And so the way I got around those guys, I was like, oh yeah, I'm J. Scott Henderson. I'm sitting in tonight. They said, well, we didn't know about that. I said, well, you know now. You know, so people like Buddy Guy and Junior Wells, became friends with Junior Wells. I was going to be George Clinton's guitar player in 1974. I've been following P-Funk for years. Glenn Goins, we became friends.
Okay, well, let's hear a little something.
Yeah.
All right.
All right?
Yeah.
Let's hear something.
Well, you know, Eddie is been in favor of blues.
All right. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
Can you?
Can I
Can
give
you?
him, can I give him the thing that he asked me? to
Sure,
do?
sure. I was gonna say, can you count it off?
Yeah.
Can you count it off?
If I'm going to do a James Brown thing, maybe I could do that. But if we
Go
were to
ahead.
do
Go ahead,
that,
go ahead, Jay.
Do his,
if we
and then
would.
you got some James Brown
yeah,
for me.
yeah. But if I was to do it, we would count it off with that 1, 2, 3, 4. But let me do his thing.
Okay.
Right? This tune is called Train Depot Blues. It's about a man, younger woman from a small town, so that's why there's this little depot train station, because it ain't much. He don't read and write so well.
All right, all right.
But his younger companion that he met in that town loves him so.
Okay.
All right, all right. Jay, let's hear
And
that.
so only one of them can leave that town to get an education, and it had to be her.
All right.
So I'm saying this here. Well, the train done left the station. Take my baby way over yonder across the hill. I said the train left the station. Take my baby way over yonder across the hill. To the big old city in life. My baby got an education. Gonna come back bright, yeah. She said, don't worry, Daddy. I'm coming back home to you. Now she done went over yonder, got an education. It's been like 5 years now gone. Now I don't realize so well, but I see the letter standing on the floor. And I know my baby is coming back.
Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. J. Scott Henderson, founder of the Red House Band. And some folks in beautiful Uptown Grove Hall call you the Jimi Hendrix of Boston. Come on.
They do.
I'm just going to keep it
They
real.
do.
No, they do.
Because I've met you plenty of times, walking down Cheney Street in
Yeah.
beautiful Uptown Grove Hall.
Right,
Well,
right,
time flies when we're
It does.
having fun. However, we're going to bring you back.
Yep.
And Edwin Sumpter,
Absolutely, Charles. It's a pleasure. Congratulations on 6 years. Really.
Thank you.
Well done. The community is emboldened by what you do. I do want
Thank
to say
you.
that.
And-
If I just might quickly add,
Go
too,
ahead.
if anybody's interested, you can reach me on Facebook and find out more about Jay and Red House. And we're holding a special event in honor of Jay's brother, Ron, who we just lost in November. A fabulous human being, great bass player. We're holding an event at Spontaneous Celebration this coming Saturday, the 8th, from 4 to 11. Free event. Great bands will be playing, including J. Scott Henderson. So if you're in the area, Spontaneous Celebration this Saturday, the 8th. Please do stop by.
contact information.
Call me at 857-505-9554, or you can reach me at Facebook. That's the best way to find me. Edwin Sumpter, S-U-M-P-T-E-R.
One more time.
S-U-M-P-T-E-R, first name Edwin on Facebook. That's the gateway to me and Jay.
I'd like to thank you, my guests. And Jay, hit me with a little something.
Yeah, just a little something, take us out.
Just so you all
Take
know.
us out.
Thank you.
Take us out, Jay. Take us out.
Yeah.
Take us out, Jay.
On that show, we're going to be getting funky. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Community. I'm your host, Brother Charles Clemons Muhammad, and you are the best and the brightest. Remember, Touch TV comes to you every Thursday evening at 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning at 12:30 a.m. And that's Friday into Saturday. It's Eastern Time, 9:30 p.m. on Thursdays and 12:30 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And you can check out Touch TV on Comcast Channel 23, RCN Channel 83, Verizon 1960, and online anywhere in the world at www.bnntv.org. And when you go to that page, make sure you select Watch Channel 23 now, and bam, it's on. Also, if you've missed any of our episodes on that same website, top right-hand corner, you'll see VOD. Click VOD. The shows are in alphabetical order. You see Touch TV. Click on Touch TV, and all of our shows from the past 6 years are there for you to take and watch and share. Why not? We can make it happen. So we have a fantastic show lined up for you.